Welcome to an Inside the Red Raiders special report brought to you by Red Raider Outfitter, the fans' favorite since 1975. I'm Jared Johnson, and I promised my peeps on Inside the Red Raiders that I would give my opinion of Lane Kiffin throwing out those accusations against Texas Tech linebacker Dimitri Moore and Texas Tech's response to that and all that. First up, I just want to say, no matter what, it's disappointing that we're having to talk about this after a great performance from Texas Tech. Complete victory. That's really, and perhaps, honestly, my opinion, perhaps that was part of the reason it was brought up as a way to deflect the fact that Texas Tech really kicked Ole Miss's butt in the Texas Bowl, last week. But that's just my opinion. Then I want to say I take this kind of stuff. I don't know if necessarily it should be public or not. If it's a deterrent, then great. But I take the use of racial slurs seriously. I wasn't raised like that. I think that's ignorant. I don't think it's funny or cute or anything like that. I truly take that seriously. That's my opinion. That we should respect each other and our differences. If you're not causing any harm, then you're all right with me. It's basically my philosophy, and I think using racial slurs causes harm. So, with that being said, Lane Kiffin, after the game, the 42-25 victory over Texas Tech in the post-game press conference, I'm sure if you're watching this, you're aware of this, accused Dimitri Moore in a very, I've read the transcript, I've seen the video and all that, in a very awkward way of spitting on and using a racial slur against against an Ole Miss player, offensive lineman, during a scrum, and it was a turnover, and there was a pushing and shoving and all this, which he kind of just threw it out there. He said he didn't see it, but he was told that the way he threw it out there, it's not that important. But he said that he made this that happening made one of his players, that offensive lineman, cry, which that's embarrassing. I mean, in my opinion, that's pretty embarrassing. If I was that player, then my coach said that. But I know we're supposed to be more sensitive nowadays, but man, that seems pretty soft to me. That's just my opinion. Then again, that's with the preface that I do take the use of racial slurs very seriously. But I think we need to address Texas Tech's response as well. And before I read what Joey McGuire said the following day and what Dimitri Moore said in separate statements released by Texas Tech at the same time. Dimitri Moore is from Cedar Hill originally. He actually played for Joey McGuire way back in the day at Cedar Hill. I've heard the story. If I remember correctly, Joey McGuire's known Dimitri Moore and several members of his family for a long time. So this isn't some player he's only coached for a year or doesn't know all that well. And somebody they've had a relationship for a long time. So, he knows Dimitri Moore's character. And if he vouches for him, then I believe Joey McGuire. That is my honest opinion. So with that, I want to share the statements that both McGuire and Dimitri Moore said in response to Lane Kiffin's accusations. Joey McGuire said, "We are disappointed an opposing head coach decided to insinuate serious allegations that are false and irresponsible. He said, I have discussed these allegations with Dimitri Moore, and he disputed the two claims that were brought forth against him. I am proud of our team and our performance last night in what was a memorable win to close our season in front of a sea of Red Raiders." Yeah, I was there, and there was a sea of Red Raiders. They were loud, and they were celebrating. But before I get to Dimitri Moore's response as well, is there hasn't been anything produced showing like him spitting. I saw a lot of shenanigans during and after plays. It was a chippy game from the beginning. Even in the game thread, I mentioned it. Man, somebody needs to tell these two teams that this bowl game doesn't matter because they're not playing like that. They're playing rough, and it was just chippy. You could tell that two teams did not like each other. There's at least 2 targeting calls, some dirty hits, some dirty plays in that game. So, if it stays on the field, okay. But another part of what Lane Kiffin said in his accusations that really irked me was that he said he talked to Joey McGuire about it and he agreed. Him speaking for the other coach like that, and if you look back to when they actually shook hands after the game, Lane Kiffin actually covered his mouth. Why do you cover your mouth? Well, because you want the conversation to remain private. Well, it's hard to do that if you run your mouth about what you talked about after the game in the press conference. So this is just silly, in my opinion, especially that part. I thought it was silly. The way it was related, and I've been in a million press conferences. I was in the Texas Tech one when that one Ole Miss was going on. So I've seen some things. But in press conferences, I thought that whole part of it was really silly. Now, Dimitri Moore's response was, "I can't state strongly enough that these accusations are false. It is disappointing to have my final game as a collegiate student-athlete overshadowed by the false accusations that were stated last night. Since I have arrived at Texas Tech, I have strived to represent my teammates, this coaching staff, and most importantly, my family in the highest manner. It has been an honor to represent this program as we close our season with a great victory last night." So, there you have it with those two guys both, vehemently and straightforwardly denying those accusations. I thought Joey McGuire saying false and irresponsible was the most poignant part of those two statements. He's flat out saying this is wrong, and it's irresponsible to say that. And it was the way he did. And so that's my opinion on it. What really happened was Tech kicked Ole Miss's butt. They were embarrassed on ESPN. And then I feel like Lane Kiffin, and if you read the transcript, and there's a free story on Inside the Red Raiders talking about this, just laying out what each side said. It comes off awkward. So Lane Kiffin has a history of rubbing people the wrong way. So I thought it was silly. I thought it was a great win for Texas Tech. And I agree. I can't sit here and say that's false, that didn't happen. I believe that it's false, but I don't know that. But I do think the way it was related from Lane Kiffin was irresponsible. And that's just my opinion. So I have addressed this. Unless there's anything else moving forward, I'm actually done with this. Unless there's any more new developments with this, I'm done with this situation. Given my opinion, I've laid out what actually was said. So that's that. But with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.